Hello and welcome to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. Rachael is a speaker, inspirational author, and an overcomer. As Rachael is walking through her own journey of grief, she's challenging others to persevere and overcome their own circumstances. Find out more at rachelflick.com. Here now is your host, Rachael Flick.
Hey friends, welcome back to this week's episode of the Hopecast. I'm so glad that you're joining us. Our previous episode with Rachel Dozier-Powell has been so powerful, and if you haven't read that about losing her spouse to suicide and the effects of her relationship with the church, I really recommend that you go back to episodes 140 and 141 of the Hopecast. If you want to partner with me in producing the Hopecast, we are reaching people all over the world in Europe and Asia, South Africa. It's really amazing to me to see that growth, and people are receiving these messages of support and the reality that you can live through your worst nightmare. And I can't imagine a more important message for people to hear. And so if you would join me at buymeacoffee.com/RachelFlick, you can donate $5, the value of a coffee, or whatever value you'd like to contribute to the production of the Hopecast. Today, I get to introduce to you my friend, Chad Otruba. He is an Air Force veteran with 3 military deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. He has 24 years of service as a firefighter. He's dad to Collin, Emma, and Bailey, and grandpa to Raylan. Hey, Chad, welcome to the Hopecast.
Hey, good morning.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too.
I think I'm so blessed that you're ready to share this story. I know you told me this story about 2 years ago, and I love that you were like, I'm ready to do this.
It's been on my mind for quite a long time, and I think that now I really feel like my heart is ready to spread that message and to have people hear Collin's story, not just about him, but about me and the struggles that I've dealt with and persevered through for the last 20 years.
Right. Yeah. Is that how long it's been since he passed?
2002, so 22.
He would be 22 years old.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, one of the things that I am really grateful for you being willing to talk about this is that, men and women lose people equally, but women are the ones who self-select for support and are more likely to talk about their loss. And I think men are left alone a lot more in their grief. And I think that you give people courage and permission to acknowledge their grief.
It's a very difficult thing to do, and to open up and to kind of fillet yourself out there and open up to your feelings and some of the vulnerabilities that you experienced. And I wasn't really sure how I dealt with those things until I look back and I said, okay, that wasn't healthy. That wasn't okay. I needed to speak to somebody. I needed to work through those feelings, and instead I just bottled them up. And the men in this world, in this country, have a stigma of I'm fine, everything's fine, and just leave it alone. And they're dealing with these demons within them on their own, and they don't want to share those things. So I think it's okay to reach out and have somebody to confide in and let them know that you're struggling with those things.
Yeah.
And it may be big or small, and maybe they have some experience in those situations or know somebody that does. And in this case, this is a very rare thing, but I know people all over the world are dealing with these kind of struggles too. So
absolutely. And I'm going to circle back and ask you some of the resources that you used to heal in your grief. But let's start kind of around the time of the pregnancy with Collin. What was going on in your life? Were you married at that time? Did you anticipate Collin's heart diagnosis? What was going on there for you?
So I was active duty in the Air Force in 2001, right around the time of September 11th. And so those events kind of led to we found out we were pregnant. Yes, I was married at the time, young marriage. I'd actually just gotten married a few months prior.
Okay.
In July 2001. And we'd already previously suffered a miscarriage. And so, we were very looking forward to this blessing as the new pregnancy. And so 2001, 9/11 happens, and I kind of grew up in a military background with my parents. My dad was in the Marine Corps. My grandparents, my grandfather was in the Navy. I have a lot of military members in my family. So I did what I thought was right, and I volunteered to go overseas. And
thank you for your service,
thanks.
Chad.
And so during that deployment, this was before the time of cell phones, and this was before the time of all this technology. And so you had to go and get in line and wait for a phone to make a phone call home.
Because you were deployed when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you get to wait in line for a phone. You get 15 minutes and it cuts you off, and you got to get back in line.
Wow.
And so those are those phone calls. And so she had gone to a doctor's appointment, and then they said that there was a problem, that it looked like Collin was going to be born with a heart murmur, which is, people live with those every day. That's not necessarily a problem. It's something that you deal with. And as things progressed, it came to the point where there was a Red Cross message sent across from home to overseas to get me home, home
so
early.
Your wife had communicated with the military.
Mm-hmm.
There's an emergency.
Correct. Yeah, that it was expressed from the doctors that I needed to be home to support her and Collin. So I came home, and in June 2002, he was born. June 26, 2002 is his birthday. And the day he was born, it was scary. I was just turned 21, and barely legal to have an adult beverage, and I'm in a hospital with my wife, and having an emergency C-section, to the point where I wasn't allowed in the room.
Do you remember how many weeks Collin was when they delivered him?
He was early.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact
gestation.
Yeah, those
That's
numbers.
Okay. I just wondered if he was like a preemie, or if it was closer
he was just a few weeks early.
Okay.
So it wasn't too far before his due date. So I got informed that he was born. They were working to kind of rile him up a little bit. He was very blue and dusky and had poor circulation, so they kind of had to work him up a little bit to get him to cry and kind of
That's
get
scary
with it.
to see a baby born looking like that.
And so Collin was born with a condition, a congenital heart defect called Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome.
Okay.
That affects about 2 to 3% of all congenital heart defects. So it's very rare. And the life expectancy is not good.
Okay.
Most kiddos don't. I think it was like 40% of kiddos make it out of the first year. And then the next 5 and 10, like the life expectancy goes down dramatically.
Wow.
I think the oldest living person maybe make it into their 30s. There's probably some rare cases out there, but it requires surgery. So immediately I was told that he was going to be flown medevac to Phoenix Children's Hospital. That staff there was amazing. They took this young kid in me, and I drove there myself. I got there. I didn't get to fly with him. As soon as I got there, they took me to the NICU and explained to me all the things. He has to be in an incubator. They want to keep him warm. We want to keep him kind of like the circulation moving. And
you have medical experience now through the fire service. Was this all new to you at the time, at this age?
It was.
Okay.
It was. At 21, I was just a first responder, and the severity of his condition, I had no clue. And I've always been fascinated by the medical field. I've always, been fascinated by medical professionals. I wanted to be a trauma surgeon when I was a kid.
Okay.
And so immediately I couldn't hold him. I couldn't pick him up. I couldn't hold my son. And I spent the next 4 days by his side. His mom had to stay in another hospital where she was being cared for after having C-section and, dealing with the recovery from that. So she didn't get to meet her son until about a week into his birth. So immediately called my parents, and they were on the next plane that they could get. And so
Grateful that you had that.
they were there to support us and to be there for us. I'm forever grateful for them being there for us in that time, because we had support. We had friends, and we had some family, her family in the local area, and the fire department and the military were a huge support system for us. But time just stopped. Nothing else mattered at all. It was who's spending the time at the hospital. I slept on a hospital couch. I ate hospital cafeteria food for like a month. It didn't matter.
Did you live in Phoenix?
Yeah, I was stationed in the military outside of the Phoenix area.
So you got to go home and shower when you weren't at the hospital, or were you staying at like a Ronald McDonald?
No, we didn't take advantage of those. Those were offered. We were forced to go home and take a nap, and forced to go home, but we didn't want to. I didn't want to.
Right.
I didn't want to leave his side. I spent my free time, I guess you would call it, in the hospital library, researching what was wrong with my son. And I started to kind of go down this path of, is this my fault? Is it something from my family? Is it hereditary? Is it something that we did? It was the pregnancy that, you start to kind of steamroll into all these ideas of.
Were you feeling guilt? Is that why you were looking for that?
Yeah. Yep. I think the guilt of, this poor little baby is just laying in the hospital, and what did I do? Is it my fault? And that caused some strain between the relationship too, because there was some anger between the two of us. It was stress. We were very overwhelmed.
Were you guys struggling with some blaming? Is that the strain?
Yeah. The relationship started to kind of take on some tension in those areas, right? Is this your fault? Is this my fault? So there's the finger pointing, and we're sleep deprived. We're stressed out. We're worried and concerned. We're trying to keep it all together. And then
you're so young, and you're newly married, and you're in crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
wow.
Very much struggled through those times. And I'll never forget the chaplain that worked at the children's hospital. I never really grew up in a faith-based home. My dad grew up as a Catholic and had gone to Catholic school, and my grandparents were twice a week Catholics. They never pushed us to go to church. Some of my experiences with church were from classmates and schoolmates asking me to come to their service. And I lived in North Carolina when I was a kid, so it was Southern Baptist
culture. Yeah.
And so I never really had a lot of experience in faith, and I never really had that exposure. And I had this chaplain who was preaching to me and praising to me, and God has a plan, and very upbeat, trying to be positive, trying to show us that love and support, and just trying to give us that grace that we needed during that time. And it wasn't until years later, when I turned my life over to Christ, that I realized those things.
Looking back, like I know you're saying, like, so much strain, anxiety, struggling with the relationship. When you came to faith later, could you see the presence of God in your situation, even if you couldn't feel him, or could you feel him at the time, or not until later?
I would say it wasn't until later when I in retrospect, and that covers a huge time period, and I'll definitely cover that.
Okay.
During the moment,
no,
I felt I was angry. I was mad. I was frustrated. Why? Why would you take this young, innocent little baby and put him through these things? If there is a God, why? Why would you choose to do that to, the innocent?
Felt like persecution.
It felt like, let me take on those burdens. As a parent, I think we can all agree that we want to take those burdens away from our kiddos.
Absolutely.
We want to make the ouchies go away. We want to make, the broken hearts go away. We want to do all those things to protect our kiddos. And those situations that I've experienced early on in life have helped me to become who I am today as a dad. And I'm thankful for those experiences to build the resilience and to have the heart of Collin to like live through me and to pour out to Bailey and to Emma and to, just show them that I cherish them. And
I love that about you. It's one of the things I really admire is what a great intentional dad you are.
Thank you. Yeah. So Collin went under open heart surgery in a very, very young age. It wasn't even 2 months old and had open heart surgery. And I'll never forget the images in my mind of walking into that recovery room and seeing a bandage from the top of his chest to his belly button. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody can understand how much time stands still when you're waiting to find out that surgery is okay, that surgery is done, that he's in recovery. Like you're waiting for that bad news. You're waiting for that, I'm sorry, he didn't make it, that he couldn't handle those things. He's so small. I mean, he was 6 pounds. He was, 6 pounds and change. And, and so I just want to like forever hold on to those memories of the hard times because it also keeps him present in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so, open heart surgery. We spent a lot more time in the hospital and, finally getting an opportunity to hold him in our arms
was
after surgery.
I'm assuming that they let you hold him at some point while he was in the NICU, or did they not allow you to do that?
It was brief.
Okay.
It was a brief moment of time where his mom and I got an opportunity to sit and hold him. Mm. And it wasn't until after surgery when he was in recovery that my parents got to hold their grandson.
Wow.
And
what was the prognosis for him at that point?
The plan forward was to have one surgery in the early stages, and that would allow for him to develop. He had to, when we're born, the aortic valve automatically closes, and that kind of helps you to self-sustain, kind of jump
Switch from the umbilical cord to your own heart and lungs.
And so that didn't happen for him. That didn't happen for Collin. So they had to do that. And they also had to put shunts in his heart to help to provide blood flow to his lungs. Mm. That was the major concern, that his heart was I kind of relate this to the guys that I work with. Your heart works in 2 stages, right? You hear the thump thump, and it's like input and output, right? His was just like a 1-stage thing. It would beat, and that was like
So contract, the blood would go out,
that was it.
And then release, and the blood would come in.
And so he had poor perfusion. Anytime he would get upset, he would cry. You would see it. He would immediately get very blue, very dusky, very very stressed out real fast. So the steps forward were to be a little bit later on in life, he would have a second surgery that would help to provide better perfusion and circulation to the lower half and to the upper halves of his body. So 1 of 3 surgeries was completed. We brought him home around the beginning of August, middle of August.
So he was like 2 months old?
A little bit less, ish. And
wow,
we got to experience a different look of what a parent should experience bringing their kid home. Mm. He was home with 6 different medications 3 times a day. He was home with a feeding tube. I'll never forget the first day that I went back to work. I got a call from my wife and said that he pulled it out, and I had to go home and put it in because she wasn't able
Didn't know how to.
Yeah, she wasn't able to complete those steps. And those were things that we had to go through educationally before we left the hospital. Mm. Those were steps for discharge. Typically when you have a baby, they make sure you know how to put them in the car seat, and you know how to have a car seat installed, and you're on your way, maybe some diaper classes and some, some swaddling. But this was, we need to be able to put this tube in your son's nose to get into his stomach so that he could have nutrition. And so that was unique. Mm-hmm. The nursery wasn't a normal nursery for us. It was, having a feeding tube stand and having medical supplies delivered to our home and special formula My wife didn't get to experience the motherhood things that you would typically experience, so, I feel for her on that. So,
and just so much fear, I can imagine.
Every day.
What can go wrong. And I think about babies born to our friends who are like genetically healthy, and we still want those little owlet socks on them, right? That we're like monitoring in our fear of SIDS, you know what I'm saying? And just, I remember when the twins were born, like I felt so vigilant, like I need to watch over them. I can't sleep, and just needing to feel like the Lord was watching them while I was sleeping, right? Like I could do that. I can't fathom that with a baby who is that sick.
Yeah, the difficult thing for me was being away for 24 hours at a time. And not necessarily in the fact that his mother couldn't take care of him, but, Papa Bear wants to be there. I want to be there to protect him. Any little cry, any little thing. I'm the firefighter. I'm the military member. I should be able to give the medications, and I should be able to do all the things and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so that was the challenge, was what does life look like now? Cardiologist visits and specialized care. And we got to a point where we were able to enjoy some small things, taking him out and having some, old school antique type of pictures taken, and visiting family, and, those kind of things, taking him for walks and stuff like that. Like, we got to the point in his life where he was able to try, rice cereal. We're progressing. He was like around 3 or 4 months old, and
normal baby things.
I was able to, feed him. And that's one of my most cherished memories is the joy in his face. And I have that picture. It's me feeding him rice cereal and the joy in his face. Because in the midst of all of that stuff, Collin was a beautiful, happy little boy. He was stressed out, and he was, in pain, and he'd gone through the ringer, but he was still beautiful, and he had a beautiful smile and a beautiful laugh, and I'll cherish those memories forever.
I love that you were able to just be present in that. And it's going to make me cry, like finding those sweet spots in the middle of such heartache. And I think that that's just a huge lesson for all of us in life in general. Like, we're not promised tomorrow. And even when things are hard, like finding those little sweet spaces with the people that we love.
I will never, ever forget, being able to hold him in my arms. And, I love to put music on in the house and have music on, and I kind of like just holding him and just rocking him and just having him in my arms, knowing that we've been through a lot and we're home and this is safe. And those are the things that I will continue to hold on to. I mean, it's a long time since then, and I still remember every specific little detail.
I think that will be the case, that we long for those we've loved and lost until we're reunited with them again in heaven. Like, I was thinking about that sometimes I'm like counting years as though I'm going to arrive somewhere in my grief, realizing like there's never going to be a day or a year where I don't miss Micah in my life, or you don't miss Collin in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 days every year that people know that I'm going to keep his name out there.
Yeah.
You're going to see it on social media. You're going to hear about it, and you're probably going to see me break down. If I'm at work, these guys know that I'm going to have a bad day. It's a rough day. It's the flood of emotions every year on the day he was born, and his heavenly birthday is just, those are the days that I kind of have to give myself some grace.
I love that you can say that, though, because there's such pressure in our culture not to acknowledge that in, like, I would say that would be toxic masculinity, but like, it's not masculine to acknowledge your grief or to have a hard day. And I actually love that, your fellow firefighters know, like, all right, this is the anniversary. It's a bad day. Like, just keep going, right? Like, let Chad do what he needs to do today.
Yep. And that I've had a lot of people that have poured in a lot of support over the years and given me that, I don't know how you did it. I can't imagine what that feels like. It makes me cherish my children much more. And that's what I want the hope out of this is that during those dark times that the sun is coming. I love Collin, and I will forever love the 4 months that I had him in my life physically, but I've had him with me every step of the way since. I can't even tell you how many times I have broken down in a bathroom by myself on those days in tears, uncontrollably. And there's people that have been in my life that have supported me through that, whether it's a spouse or a partner or best friends. And they know those days. It happens the day that Collin went to heaven, it happens to be my best friend in the whole wide world. It's his birthday. So it's bittersweet.
Yeah, very bittersweet.
We know that I'm calling him to tell him happy birthday, but we also know what that means.
Yeah.
So you just persevere. I mean, you just have to kind of push forward and let the bad stuff, I would almost say that it just kind of marinates for me. It just kind of stays there with me. And I know that those are experiences that I went through, but it doesn't affect me into the point where it ruins my day. I know that this is a part of my life that I will never, forget, and I will never want to relive ever again. And my hope is that I can reach out to people that are experiencing those problems and those tough times with their kiddos in the hospital. And maybe they are staying at a Ronald McDonald House and know that they have support. They have somebody they can talk to. I mean, I've seen professional athletes that have children that have heart conditions, and I would love that opportunity to just share that, not because they're a celebrity or a professional athlete, but they're a dad.
Because they grieve like everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're probably going through the same exact feelings that I was. Why did this happen to our son or daughter? Why did this happen to us? Are they going to be okay? What's the next step? Where's the medical supplies going to come from? Are we going to have surgery? Are we going to have this? Is this something that's correctable? Or is it just you have to live knowing that this is a thing? This is the adjustment. This is what life looks like now.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about Collin is I think that I could probably speak for most dads in the country. We all want their sons to be, the next big thing in baseball or football, or they always have those aspirations. Like, that's my boy. He's going to be the professional athlete. Take care of dad. We never knew what Collin's life was going to be like. We didn't even know if he was going to be able to run because of his cardiac issues. So what was his life going to look like? What was he going to be good at? What was his career path? What was his, what would he do in high school?
What was possible for him?
What were those possibilities, and where were the limitations, and how far was that going to take us?
Yeah. I think whenever we have something like a diagnosis, a disease, special needs, a loss, like we had these dreams and hopes for our future. And now all of that is up in the air and maybe gone, right? Like in my case, it was just washed away, right? And in your case, you're like, okay, we're not getting to bring home our baby to the nursery and sit there and rock him and just, go through the normal stress of a newborn where you're not sleeping and you're changing them, every 2 hours and feeding them every 2 hours. And right, like that's already hard. And it's already hard to adapt to being first-time parents. Like the twins are really healthy, and I found that season to be very stressful, you know?
Right.
And so I acknowledge that. I just love hearing you process your story. And I'm over here like in tears. Like, I don't think I've ever cried over your story before. It's so beautiful and so moving, and your love is really just present and visible. And it's a gift. I would like to continue this with you in another episode for next time. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. I look
Awesome.
forward to it.
And for the listeners, we're going to start into losing Collin and Chad's progress and path through grief and healing and coming back to that place again where the sun shines again. Friends, if this story is meaningful to you, or you know someone that it would resonate with or needs to hear it, maybe they're even in the hospital right now with their sick infant, would you share this with them? And friends, would you rate, review, and subscribe to the Hopecast? It really helps to share the message of healing and resilience and the possibility that you can live through this, that it is possible, that it won't always be the agony that it is right now. And I'm passionate about that message, and I would love to encourage as many people as possible. So please help us do that here on the podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the Hopecast with Rachael Flick.
You've been listening to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. To find out more, go to rachelflick.com. While you're there, you can book Rachael for your next speaking engagement. Her inspiring message will be sure to engage and touch the heart of your audience at your next conference, church event, or business function. Go to rachelflick.com to book her today. While you're online, you can discover more information about all of the platforms that this podcast is on. Also, be sure to click on the social media icons at the top of the page, and you will be directed to Rachael's social media sites. If you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate if you would subscribe and leave us a review. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Hopecast with Rachael Flick.